Learn about political party growth in the Palmetto State from an amazing PD resident. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Fox 43 studio in Florence. We're focused on the life of Ray Harris, the acting director for the Darlington County Economic Development Board. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
My pleasure.
It's so exciting. Obviously, you were in a number of months ago when we were at the Bell South building in Florence, focused on the Eastern South Carolina Alliance. Had a great week, all that week, focused on so many amazing folks from in our viewing area. And it's particularly exciting since yesterday Ed Young was in, and I understand in the early 70s you were his campaign manager for his term in Congress.
Yeah, I was fortunate to be associated with Ed during that campaign, and it was successful, thanks to Ed. I thought Ed made a great candidate, and it was very easy to work hard for him.
Yes, very definitely. He's done so much for the PD and for the state of South Carolina.
Really has. And the United States.
And the U.S. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Ray, what year did you become the economic development, the director for the Darlington County Economic Development Board?
I started that job in May of 1996.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just retired a couple of years prior to that from being the HUD Regional Administrator in Region 4, which was Atlanta, and covered the 8 southeastern states plus Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands.
Mm-hmm.
So after that retirement, my wife and I came back to Darlington, and we built a house and played a little golf and played a lot of golf, really. But in the meantime, I kept seeing in that 2-year period the executive director of economic development in the county kept changing hands, and I think it changed hands about 2 or 3 times in a 2-year period. And I was a little concerned about that. Plus, I would like to become involved in the economic development in the county. I felt like I'd be qualified, so I went up and applied for the job, and luckily I was selected.
That was May of 96.
96.
And you recently retired from that position.
I did. June 30th, it was the official retirement date.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still acting director until they find a successor to fill that vacancy. So that's the position I'm holding now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are you originally from the PD, Ray?
No, I'm originally from the little town of Wake Forest, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
And it used to be Wake Forest College used to be located there, and I graduated from Wake Forest in 1950.
Mm-hmm.
Having come back to Wake Forest after serving in the Navy for about 2.5 years. And so when I came back, I felt like I was coming back to maybe a new place, you know, having been away. And I've always admired Wake Forest College, and having had the opportunity to grow up in that little college town, it was really a wonderful place to be.
You know, so oftentimes kids growing up in a town and their parents there in town, particularly if a school's there in town, a college or a university's in town, they want to get away.
Yeah.
But you obviously wanted to be there. Was it the aspect of being close to home? Was that a great thing?
No, not really. I really had a love for the college itself, and having been away in the service for 2.5 years, coming back, it was like coming back to a new college and a new place.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Well, of course, Wake Forest University has moved to Winston-Salem, but the college is still a trek to. I know there's still trips that go, classes that go from Winston-Salem down to Wake Forest, North Carolina to visit the old campus. Still very.
They have reunions there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And immediately following graduation, did you stay in that area?
No, I applied for a special agent training for the FBI, and I was accepted. Back then, it was during the Korean War, and there was a recruiting effort for FBI agents and or candidates, and so I applied. And luckily, I had studied 1 year of law at Wake Forest, and I had studied constitutional law, and the examination dealt with primarily constitutional questions, and so I was pretty lucky there.
Oh, yeah, the FBI examination. What was that like? Being in, you were in your mid to late 20s? Mid-20s?
Yeah, mid-20s.
Mid-20s?
Yeah.
Going into the FBI in the mid-20s. That must have been incredible.
Well, it was to me because it was very exciting, and I really enjoyed it. Good training, and one of the best things about it is after serving some time in the FBI, it was a real good recommendation.
I bet. Getting a recommendation to go into anything else, that's amazing. Now, when did you meet Vi?
Well, I met Vi when she was a senior in high school, and I used to go down to Myrtle Beach and visit there, and I went down one weekend and had met her there, and then after that, after about a year, we met again at a dance in Wake Forest at college, and I asked her to come back to midwinters, I believe it was, and a spring dance, and she did. She accepted, and from there on, it's been love at first sight and every sight since.
Wow, right. That's amazing. Now, Vi, of course, is from the Florence area.
She's from Florence.
Okay, so that was that's much of the PD connection there.
Yeah, very strong. Vi Barringer, her father was a hardware dealer in several cities in the PD area.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And do you and Vi have any children?
We have 6.
6?
3 girls and 3 boys.
Come on.
Yeah. I'm very proud of all 6 of them.
That's a job in itself, Ray. 6
well,
children.
it is, and I always said Vi was the best manager I think I've ever known.
That is amazing. Are they currently in the area?
Well, they're a little bit scattered out. We have one living in New Preston, Connecticut, married to an architect. Then we have one living in Atlanta, Georgia, and have two children there, and she enjoys Atlanta very much. We have one, Belva Chase, John Chase, here in Florence. And we have one living in Mount Pleasant, Lance, and then we have Jamie living here in Florence, the Florence area. So he recently just got married, and so we are happy they're all married and very happy.
Do you have any grandchildren, Ray?
We have 12.
Oh, my God.
So
wow.
When I leave this job, I guess we're going to be doing a lot of visiting grandchildren.
Yes. How exciting. And traveling all over. Of course, a lot of them are right here in the PD, but even in the Palmetto, throughout the Palmetto State and down to Georgia. How exciting.
Yeah.
That will be big. Now, of course, Vi was from Florence. What exactly brought you all to Darlington?
Well, I guess it all started when they started selling Vi's father's estate, and she inherited an interest in one of the hardwares that her father owned, and it was located in Darlington. And the other partner in the business was getting up in years, and he was looking for someone to come in and represent the other half of the interest. And he was a wonderful person, Frank McKeel. He and I just got along beautifully together, and so we enjoyed that association and the fact that we were living in Darlington. It was a nice small town, which somewhat compared to the little town of Wake Forest that I grew up in.
I'm sure that was...
I left out one son, our son Raymond, who is located down at Ocean Isle, and he's in the restaurant business.
So, oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you all get over to Ocean Isle much? That must be great.
Oh, well, we get down there as often as we can. We're probably going to be going there more often than we have in the past.
Brunswick County is a great area.
Yeah, it really is.
I grew up going to Ocean Isle Beach. My families from Durham, and we would go to Ocean Isle every summer, dedicated.
Well, the next time you go by Sharkey.
Sharkey?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a trip we'll make. Now, you and Vine moved to Darlington in what year was that, Ray?
I think that was in 1954, I believe it was.
Okay, 1950.
53 or 54.
And you all stayed in Darlington?
We stayed there until, well, we were still there, but we had an interim life in Atlanta,
Right.
and we enjoyed that very much when I was regional administrator of Region 4,
Right.
which took in the 8 southeastern states plus Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands.
Right, right. What was Darlington like in the mid-50s?
It was a beautiful little town to live in.
Mm-hmm.
The school system was recognized as one of the best in the southeast, really. The town was obviously close to Florence, and Vi was able to maintain a lot of close friendships in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an active little town, too. We had the racetrack there. It was beginning to come into its own, having the Southern 500, and a lot of exciting things going on in and around Darlington County.
Mm-hmm. And the economy was strong.
The economy was good.
Mm-hmm.
That was when Kennedy, I think, President Kennedy cut taxes to get the economy moving,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and as Bush is doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Hope his effort works.
Yes, let's pray so. Now, Ray, when did you get involved in the political arena?
Well, that was kind of interesting. I guess the first time I ever voted was for Eisenhower. Vi and I voted for Eisenhower. And we were in Chicago at that time, still in the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we ended up in Darlington, Strom Thurmond was running for the United States Senate in 1954, I believe it was. And that was the first vote I cast for United States Senator. And I was proud of that vote. And I didn't get to know the senator real well during that period, but later on, as I progressed up the ladder of politics, starting at the precinct level, I did get interested, though, primarily because of our support for Senator Thurmond at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in 1962, Bill Workman, who was a reporter for the news, the Charleston News, and Courier. We had been reading a lot of his editorials and things, and Vi and I were very impressed with him. And so when he announced to run against Olin Johnston, I wrote him a letter and told him that if I could do anything for him in Darlington County, I would.
Mm-hmm.
Before I knew it, I was appointed the Workman for Senate campaign chairman for Darlington County.
Oh, my God.
So that's how it all got started.
Very definitely. Well, that was a big deal. You were really thrust in at that point, but that was a good 8-year after you and Vi, or after you supported Senator Thurmond.
Right. And so it just progressed from there. And my interest in politics was really intense. After that, a friend of mine, Charlie Sidbury, and I organized the Republican Party in Darlington County. And then Drake Edens, who was chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party as it was being reborn at that time, asked me if I would serve as secretary of the state party. And I told him I'd be honored to do that. And, of course, that thrust me right into the statewide part of the development of the Republican Party.
And you all were working hard at that time to build membership.
Oh, we were. And to organize county organizations in all 46 counties. So we Charlie Sidbury and I kind of took on organizing the effort in the 6th congressional district. And we met a lot of wonderful, nice people, and as that organizational structure developed. Ed Young was one of them, and of course, Ed served in the State House of Representatives, a World War II veteran, pilot, and I had a great admiration for him.
You and so many others. And of course, he, like you and Vi, has 4 daughters. He and Hattie have 4 daughters, and they're spread out, pretty well spread out, one on the West Coast and 3 are in the relatively close vicinity, one of them in particular down in Myrtle Beach, whom I know. The 6th District at that time was considerably different than the 6th District of the 6th District now would be Congressman Clyburn's district.
Well, it was.
Is that right?
It is, and it runs all over the eastern part of South Carolina, all the way down to Beaufort County, so and goes up into Columbia, the city of Columbia. But back then, it was pretty. All of the counties were adjacent to each other, and it just encompassed the northeast corner of the state.
It had O'Ree.
It had O'Ree County and Georgetown and Clarendon, Darlington, Marlboro. Lee County was in there too.
Geographically very agricultural.
Yes, it was. And still is somewhat.
The political arena in South Carolina at that time must have been fascinating.
Well, it was, especially when you're talking about the growth of a Republican Party, a real party. Back, I say real party. Back in the 40s, 50s, and early 60s, it was somewhat of a patronage type party. It didn't have the grassroots organizational structure that we built during the 60s and 70s and 80s. And now, of course, it's the strongest of the 2 political parties in the state.
Oh, yeah. Ray, what does that feel like as you look back on that, knowing when you and Vi arrived, and of course she was a native of the area, but when you arrived to the area in '54 and you all got active in Darlington with Berenger McKeel, and to think about all the aspects therein, just to look back now, 50 years, look back essentially 50 years, and to think over all that's happened, even with y'all's sabbatical in Atlanta, you still stayed involved, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
You still stayed involved. What's that like, Ray?
Well, it's tremendously rewarding. In many different ways. The idea that when you first get involved with an effort like that, you want it to change overnight. But politics doesn't change overnight. It's like so many other things. It has to come about through a certain process, and most of the time it's slow. But if you stick with it, and the effort is realistic, then over the period of time, the change itself, it's like trying to turn a battleship around. You got to take it slow and easy, and it takes a lot of time to do. But in the end, I must say that it's tremendously gratifying to see where it started and having been a part of it, and to see where it is today.
You've got to feel gratified. You've got to feel gratified. Did you ever think about running for office, Ray?
Well, I did, and I ran for Congress in the 6th District back in 1968 when Nixon ran for the presidency on the Republican ticket, and George Wallace ran on the independent ticket, and I think it was Hubert Humphrey.
I didn't know that. Excuse me.
So I did run for Congress that year, and it wasn't so much with the expectation of winning as it was in helping build a strong Republican Party in this area.
Absolutely.
And I think it did have my candidacy had a positive impact on that structure. And then a couple of, I guess, in 72, I guess it was, Ed Young ran, I believe it was in
72, right.
Yeah, and he ran, and I managed his campaign, and we made a good team together, and he made an outstanding congressman.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What an exciting term for him, and that would help the PD so much in so many ways, as you said. Were there any memories of the now late Senator Thurman that stick out in your mind? I'm sure the involvement with him, helping to grow the party. Any experiences with him that were particularly gratifying?
Well, when I ran for Congress, I was so proud that Strom Thurmond came to one of my rallies over in Darlington.
Oh, yeah.
And spoke for me at that rally. And, you know, when you stop to think about that, that was quite a step for him to take, to support a Republican at that stage of the growth.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he was there along with my family and everything, and a lot of people from the 6th District showed up, it was quite gratifying to have that close association and that somewhat endorsement by Strom Thurmond.
Wow.
I mean, he was really a hero of ours, and it took a lot of fortitude for him to make that move
mm-hmm.
at that point too.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess one of the most important things that I remember about working with the senator was that when I became state chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party in latter part of 1968, after the election, Harry Dent went to the White House as a special counsel to the president. And so I became state chairman. I was elected state chairman. And the senator gave the state party all of the political appointments that would be made in South Carolina from a presidential standpoint. And he, of course, could have taken every single one of those appointments unto himself, but he generously turned it over to the party with the stipulation that the party would make a concerted effort to put qualified people, not just Republicans, but qualified people in these political appointments. So it kind of, it had a transition from a patronage standpoint mm-hmm. to appointing really qualified people who, incidentally, in both cases, were Republicans.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The aspect of HUD and being the regional administrator for, did you say Section 4 or?
Region 4.
Region 4.
There were 10 regions.
And how did you get to that position, Ray?
Well, it all goes back to politics mm-hmm. to a large extent. Of course, I'd been in the real estate business for years.
Right.
And so I had no problem in working with the HUD programs. And so we had an exciting time as regional administrator. I was there from, I guess, in the regional office, I was there from 81 to 94, mm-hmm. And eventually becoming the regional administrator under Jack Kemp, who mm-hmm. was secretary then. Mm-hmm. And that was a presidential appointment, so I was proud of that. The Southeast had a lot of problems in its public housing, as did the whole United States, and that was something that we did focus pretty strongly on.
Those were the primary areas that you all really put a lot of attention.
Yeah, in public housing, and of course we had the federal housing insurance program too, along
mm-hmm.
with that, single family and multifamily.
Are there any experiences in particular during your tenure overseeing this area of HUD that really stand out in your memory, Ray?
I guess the best thing that comes to my mind, and the happiest I was involved with, to have been involved with, was revamping the whole public housing system in Puerto Rico. The system was just totally in disarray. As a matter of fact, they used some of the residents used to. The regulation said you could have pets up in the apartment public housing complex, and they would actually take these old horses up those stairs up to the second and third floor because they were their pets, and they were considered pets. So we had to go in, and the system down there itself, public housing, was just in a total disarray. And we went through the legislature, the Puerto Rico legislature, and worked with the governor to change the whole system and to privatize the management of all the public housing in Puerto Rico. And it just turned it upside down. It made it a wonderful place for these residents to live and raise children. And it was just, the whole thing was turned around, and I thought it was going to be a model for public housing places like Atlanta and Chicago, where they were in trouble status. But that's when President Clinton came in, and the whole thing, I think, turned around again.
How gratifying, back-to-back, two positions, helping to grow the Republican Party in South Carolina and then helping to really turn things around in that 8-state area and the Virgin Islands. I've got to ask real quick, Ray, with your leisure time, something you've had so little of over the last number of years overseeing economic development in Darlington County, what do you think you and Vi are going to do? Obviously a focus on 12 grandchildren, but are there other things that you all really want to focus on?
And we're going to do a little traveling, and I'm still going to be, and I told the development board, I'll still be available to help in any way I can to help economic development in Darlington County. It's a labor of love for me, has been and always will be, and as it has been for my good friend, former Chief Justice of South Carolina Supreme Court, Lee Chandler.
There are a lot of fathers we focused on today. We're visiting with the father of 6, the grandfather of 12, someone who's helped change so many lives in South Carolina and truly been a father for the area. Ray, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Greg. I've enjoyed it very much.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. We want to thank Ray Harris and his lovely wife, Vi, for bringing him to the PD area and making today's Carolina People so special.